All right, everyone, welcome. This is episode 3 of the first season of the It's About Belief podcast. I am just the narrator here. Our host is Steve Conley, and what he's doing, what he's giving, how he's giving it has been instrumental in my growth, more so as of late than in all of the years that I've known him. And I've been implementing these strategies little by little, learning about them little by little on a daily basis. And he had the great idea to say, let's share this. And so as we work with each other in other aspects of business, I'm working with him here to share his ideas, to help him share his ideas, ideas that have transformed him, ideas that are currently transforming me, and that have worked for so many other people. I mean, just this year, we've been able to work with thousands, literally thousands of people with the It's About Belief program. And so, here we are, and I got to pass the mic, pass it to Steve. Steve, what's going on? Good day.
Hey, good day. Well, it's all about the growth and it's all about the becoming. It's not about the having, getting the thing and you're going to be happily ever after. So, if we keep that in mind, then we're in good shape. But yeah, man, it's fantastic to be here and thanks for saying what you said. But,
It's a true
we're
story,
all on
man.
the same path, man.
Yeah, we are. It's a true story, though. I mean, it's just some people come to realizations or different realizations at different points in their life, right?
Mm.
Everybody wishes they could, well, most people anyway, they wish they could take what they know today and take it back 20 or 30 years or so. I can tell you this, there are certain aspects about being 21, 22, 23 that I miss, but there are certain aspects of it that I am glad are gone and done. you know.
Yeah, but what if you could go back and do it knowing what you know now?
Even knowing it, I'd probably want to go back to just my 30s, somewhere in there, right? Maybe the early to mid 30s, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And that has everything to do, I think, with the social aspect of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, thinking the way I think now, going back into my 20s, I would be a hermit. I would be isolated. I would just be
Well,
focused
no.
on what I wanted to do, or what I knew I needed to do to get to wherever we want to be in our, 40s, 50s, and 60s, But it's real, man. So today, Steve, you have a great topic. I really enjoy today's topic. Today's topic is the basics of frequency alignment. Now, Steve, can you kind of go into, what that actually means? Because from what I'm to understand, some people might not know what that means.
They may not because it's something that I kind of recognize and I just started labeling the law of attraction frequency alignment. So, this is the basics and we can get really complicated with this stuff. How do you what's the process for energy healing? How do you teleport yourself from one place to the next? What's quantum jumping and what about reading people's minds, ESP, all of that sort of thing. But let's just stick to the basics today. And the basics are very simple, although very precise. But the simplicity of it is ask, it's given, and allow it. And I try to say that pretty much every time I do any kind of recording or podcast or anything. And it's because it's so important just to remember the basics. And it's easy certainly to get caught up in the illusion that's out there, but it's also equally easy to get caught up with thinking that there's a lot of stuff to do in here. And so we don't want to get too caught up in trying to figure things out, because when you're trying to figure things out, then guess what? The universe is going to deliver to you things to try to figure out.
Yeah,
And anytime you put that word try in there, you're pretty much roadkill. I mean,
yeah,
when it comes to the frequency alignment and law of attraction, when you put trying in there, you know, you're just in a major process and you're going to be there until you decide to stop trying,
for
you
sure.
know,
But
and
see, I gotta ask, you know, you'd mentioned that the law of attraction, frequency alignment are one and the same, but I have
yeah,
to believe that there are some differences, however subtle they may be, that you've implemented to make it your own, to make it frequency alignment as opposed to simply just, if you can even say simply, law of attraction. But
yeah.
you've made it uniquely your own. And what would be some of those defining elements? Again, however few they may be, but one shift is enough to take you from one plane of existence to another. So even one shift, however, you know, minor it may seem, can take you completely to another place. Can you explain that shift or those shifts or one or two of them from the basic aspect of the difference between frequency alignment and law of attraction?
Absolutely. The law of attraction and the three-step formula again is ask, it's given, and receive. And so we're asking all the time. There's really not a whole lot to do there except for maybe refine our asking a little bit. But we've asked so much that I don't think we really need to bother with that too much. I mean, you might see something shiny over there and say, "Oh, wow, that looks pretty cool. I'd like to have that." But you don't need to get too much into the depth of that because it's just going to add on to the massive amount of stuff that's kind of lined up for you already.
Mm,
It's there, it's already. And so we my whole idea is with the frequency alignment is to just kind of forget about step one because it's done. You're doing it all the time. You can't stop. And then step two, which is it's given. So think about this. What is there to do when it's given? What is there for you to do or for me to do? Well, it's given. Nothing. There's nothing for us to do there either. So let's put all of our focus on how do we allow it? How do we get it? How do we experience it? How do we move from the feeling of lack or the feeling of not having or uncomfortableness or frustration or anger or or lack? How do we get out of that and move into that which we desire?
mm,
And that is frequency alignment. And so the law of attraction kind of is, in my opinion, just kind of a generic overall, you know, process or, kind of a quick description of what the law of attraction is. But I'm trying to get a little bit more precise in what it is. And it is really aligning with the frequency of what it is you desire. And so most of the things that I talk about, whether it's complicated, quote unquote, complicated or simple, is really just getting our frequencies to align with what we want. And so I want to keep it as simple, and that's why the topic today is, let's stick to the basics. Let's
mm,
just kind of relax, not get caught up in the processes so much
mm,
and all the cool labels that we can stick on things like quantum jumping and all that. By the way, I've renamed that one as well to relativity jumping because quantum jumping we're kind of doing all the time, but relativity jumping would be major jumps instead of quantum, which is, tiny. Quantum physics is the study of tiny things. So I want big, Uh, but at the same time, the frequency alignment is recognizing that a frequency is a frequency,
mm,
period. So it doesn't matter too much in terms of what it is we're doing in terms of effort and energy that we're deploying to try to quote unquote make something happen. And that's what we want to step away from with frequency alignment. We just want to get away from thinking that we're doing stuff and making things happen. We're not doing really anything.
Mm.
We're just here to experience.
All right.
So,
So knowing all of that, and we're talking about the basics. We want to bring people up to speed that may or may not be up to speed. Maybe this is new for some of you that are listening or watching. Maybe some of you that are already meditating and aligning your frequency and practicing these techniques. But for those that aren't, or even for some that are, what are some of the beginning steps, the basics, one, two, or three things that you could say to the audience, to the listeners right now? Hey, listen, this is the basics, and here's step one, and here's how you do it. Here's step two, and here's how you do it.
yeah,
And here's step three, or whatever. I mean, if it is even categorized in that manner, can you kind of touch on a couple steps, a couple practices as it relates to the basics?
absolutely. I don't know if I would put them in any particular order. It doesn't
Right.
matter too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's quite a few things that you can do right away. And while really and truly a process is not necessary, but at the same time, it seems like we have to practice these things because of where we are vibrationally, which creates a process, and so that we can get proficient at doing the work, which is the work is here, it's not out there. So yeah, so one of the things to do right away is to start meditating. And Miles, you mentioned meditation in the last podcast that you had started, and you went through kind of a process to try to get better at it
Yeah.
and calm the mind a little bit.
That's work too.
It, it's powerful, powerful
Yeah.
stuff. And
Really is.
calming the mind is the whole purpose of meditation, is to stop the blah, 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 all the time. What about this? And I got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when you quiet the mind, now the mind's not talking constantly. And guess what? When you quiet the mind, you're not talking. So that means there's somebody else out there that you can hear speaking. Wait a minute, somebody else out there where? Well, vibrationally speaking, it's really the bigger you. It's not really somebody else. It's just you talking to you, but it's the higher vibrational you that is infinite intelligence, which, you might want to wait a minute, infinite intelligence. Wow, that sounds pretty powerful. That sounds like something I might want to listen to, because we're here in this physicality with very limited intelligence and very limited perspective. We can kind of see what we can see with these eyes. So a lot of times I'm talking about take your focus from out there to turn it in here, because you'll see more. You're going to be tapping into infinite intelligence, and you do that. One of the ways is with meditation and quieting the mind. So one of the first things that I noticed when I really got pretty serious about the meditation, and I've been doing it for quite a while, is when I quiet the mind, I start getting a lot of information that I normally would not have gotten from infinite intelligence, or the higher vibrational me. And that includes the higher vibrational collection of consciousnesses that are connected to me in the physicality. So not only do I get me, I'll get the people and the circumstances and the things that are going on around me, whether I know them or not. And then I get a huge amount of understanding. Now, while I might not get very specific things in terms of all of that information, it's too much. It's just way too much. but I will get very specific things on, say, the list of things that I have to do today. Uh, now, one of the very first things that I noticed that happened for me when I really was kind of starting to collect information from infinite intelligence through meditation was I had my daily list of things to do. And, that would usually take me 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And I was busy all day and, and then kind of left with a few things to do on the list that I said, oh man, I should have gotten those done, but I didn't get them done, and they kind of roll over into the next day. Well, that all changed. And I bet a lot of you can relate to that. That changed significantly. And so when I would do an hour's worth of meditation, I'm not saying you have to jump in and start doing an hour's worth of meditation. Start with a couple minutes. Start with just watching your breath. Start with a Hong Sao technique, which is breathing in Hong and breathing out Sao. And that is, I and my Father are one. I and my Father are one. So that's Hong Sao. Or you can do Om technique. Om, that is the vibrational creational vibration that turns unmanifested into manifested. Om is the manifestational vibration that creates all matter. That's a pretty good one to, meditate to. So you can do those. And just the whole object is to just sit still and listen. I was watching this Jackie Chan movie. It was, I think, the number 2 movie of, I'll think of it in a minute, where his son was the student. I'll think of it in a minute. They're in China, and there's a bunch of Chinese guys sitting still, meditating. And so Jaden Smith, who is the boxer, the karate guy, said, "Look at all those guys; they're just sitting there doing nothing." And Jackie Chan said, "No, they're not sitting there doing nothing. They're sitting there being still." And there's a significantly huge difference between doing nothing and sitting still.
Mm.
And there is a big, big difference in those two things. So anyway, so back to where I was going with this is, so I would get up from my meditation. I would look at my list of things to do. And from the meditation, I would know which ones to do, which ones not to do today. Some of those things weren't necessary to be done today. The order in which to do them, how to do them, and I would hear conversations between me and other people before they would happen. So I would know what to say. I would know, kind of imagine in my own mind what they would say back to me, and kind of already know what the outcome would be. Now, am I telling the future there? No, I'm not. I am selecting the future out of the infinite possibilities that exist. So I'm choosing the future conversation that I want to have precisely. And I mean to tell you, the words that I hear are exactly and in order the words that I've already heard in my mind with the conversation that we've had. So it's pretty amazing. So that's those are some of the things you can get out of meditating. Now, the biggest thing I got out of all that, my 8, 9, 10-hour days turned into 2-hour days. And usually after an hour meditation, working for a couple of hours, and by 11 or 12 o'clock, I'm thinking, okay, I'm done with this, this list of things to do. Now a whole nother massive amount of time, effort, energy is opened up to me to consider, okay, what do I want to do now? Is that valuable? I don't know. To me, it's huge. Mr. Miles, any thoughts about that? I know
No,
where I want to go next, but
yeah, no, I'm just listening to it, and I'm actually taking notes as I'm listening to you, and I'm like, okay, you know, just because I know that I'm going to give it a lot more thought after we're done with this. I know that I'm going to be thinking about it in those moments before I go and do whatever's next. And so I just think that it's very interesting. And as you're explaining the basics, just listening to you makes me know that I'm on the tip of the iceberg that's out of the water, right? I'm not even that 10% that's hanging out of the water. I'm the tip of that in terms of where I'm at in my understanding, right? But
mm,
the little bit that you've explained is the little bit that I've been practicing. And that little tiny bit has been, you know, life altering, just in the way I sleep at night, in the way I wake up in the morning, in the way I move through my day, regardless of the chaos that's going on around me. You know how I feel about chaos. Out of chaos comes opportunity, great opportunity. But being the calm in that storm instead of being a part of that storm is the difference between whatever you
act,
want. you know?
acting and reacting. It's the difference
Absolutely.
between purpose and unpurposeful action. And just, but anyway, um, so with that, the whole process of the law of attraction and frequency alignment is very precise. I mean, it is super, super precise. So you have to really you have to be careful with what you pay attention to, and and if you just keep your focus on, and this is the basics, this is the basics. Just we all want to keep our focus on what it is we want. That's it. Just watch what it is you want. Delve into that frequency, that idea of what it is you want. And here's the frequency alignment part of that. And here's the allowing part, which is the step 3. It's getting into that knowing feeling of, wow, what would it feel like if I did have that, or if I am that person?
Right. But even that
I,
right there, Steve, isn't that, and again, this is for a lack of a better way of saying it, that whole not fake it till you make it, not necessarily fake it, but be it. I mean, walk in it, believe it, see it, smell it, feel it, right?
it is. It's not fake it till you make it.
No, I just didn't know any other way to really put it out there.
No, I get that, but faking it till you make it is going to be sending the wrong frequency, and you're just going to stump your toe, on that bench around your in your
Right in
whatever it
front
is.
of my bed. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
So it's like it's I already have it. Then I already have
okay.
it. Is that that's a better assessment, right?
Yeah, Neville Goddard says it very well. He says, just act as if you already have that which it is you desire,
Mm,
and when he says that, he's talking about frequency alignment. He's talking about, what does it feel like? What does it look like? How would I act if I had that, or if I was already that person, if I was already a multimillionaire, if I was already a multi-business owner, what would I be doing? And now, then what you really have to do is you have to look at what it is you're doing right now
hmm
and say, is this truly what I would be doing if I was that person that I desire to be?
mm,
And 9 times out of 10, the answer to that is no, probably not, because we're in that repetitive mode that is kind of automatic. So we have to just be super careful and super diligent, super aware, hyper aware of what we're doing, what we're thinking, and the stories that we're telling. Now, I want to jump back because I just said stories. I want to jump back to the meditation thing for a minute too, because I
Mhm.
want to really emphasize that
Yeah.
with a story that I've heard about this ancient village, and we'll just call it Asia. I don't know where it was. It doesn't matter. And so there's a metaphysician in that village, and people know that this guy really gets a lot done, seemingly with little effort, but he meditates for an hour every day. His name is Steve. No, I'm just kidding. So, but it could be. But so he meditates for an hour every day. But this one particular day, he's talking to some of the villagers, and he says, man, the people that he kind of confides with on a regular basis, he says, I don't know if I can meditate tomorrow because my list is like it's it's twice or three times longer than what I normally have on my list of things to do. I have so much. I just don't know how I'm going to be able to do this 1 hour of meditation and still get all the things on my list done. And they're really taken aback, and they said, "Wow, so do you mean that you're not going to meditate because you've got so much stuff on your list to do that you're just not going to have time to meditate?" And he says, "Oh, no, 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 you misunderstand me. So what I mean to say is because I have so much on my list to do, I'm probably going to have to meditate for, at least 2 hours to get the inspiration, the direction, the way to do all this stuff in one day."
Mm.
Now, you probably heard that story before, but it's extremely telling. And to me, it's like, wow, yeah. So don't, once you get started in meditation or doing meditation, I would say don't stop,
Right.
keep adding, keep practicing. This is a game. All right. It's kind of a game. I love that. I love that line in the Thomas Crown affair. And so Thomas Crown's sitting there in front of his psychiatrist, and he's just, "It's just a game, love. It's just a game." No, maybe he was talking to the Rene Russo. That's what it was.
Mm.
Anyway, it's just a game. And so he's like 12 moves ahead of everybody else in his mind and thinking way ahead. And he just said, "Man, I'm just playing a game. That's it." And if you kind of approach this thing as a game, which means, and Miles, you said it earlier, you're kind of sitting back a little bit as a director. You're not caught up in the drama of all of it, but you're sitting back watching, thinking, okay, this scene is coming up, scene number 5, and then there's scene number 6 after that, and scene number 7, and so forth. So how do I want all these scenes to play out? And so now you look at your teleplay, your screenplay, and you say, okay, this is what happened here, here, and here. Wait a minute. I don't really like the way scene number 8 is playing out. I think I'll change that. So you rewrite that script,
Mhm.
and then you pull it out and you plug it in into your mental images that show up on your big screen of life. Now, I'm a student, and one of my teacher's actually my guru, if you will. Well, he's my guru,
Well,
period.
thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't know you thought of me like that, Steve. So,
Yeah, no, I do in many ways, but on the spiritual path, let's say no, let's say it's Paramahansa Yogananda, who is an ascended being, an avatar that came to the planet to, you know, wake us up. That's what we're doing here. So, and he says the way this works is very much like a motion picture theater. you have pure positive energy that's coming in to your medulla oblongata. That's the receptacle of the energy of source, creation, the universe, whatever you want to call it. That's your energy that's coming in. Now you take it in here and you bring it in through your mind and through all of your filters, your beliefs, your fears, your worries, your what you think you know and what you know, which is probably only what you think you know. It comes through a whole bunch of series of beliefs and thoughts and emotions, and it pops out through your spiritual eye right here. This is the counterpart to your medulla oblongata, and then boom, it comes out into your screen of reality. I don't know why we call it reality. It should be called illusionality. So, because reality is, as I mentioned before, you turn your vision inward, and that's where you find your reality. So, it pops out on your illusionality of your life. And so, we have from the time it goes from here to here a great opportunity to affect that motion picture. And each one of those is like a little film frame,
Mm-hmm.
boom, that pops out. And you can, just like I described, you can pull the scenes out. You can pull one scene out, one frame out. You can pull a whole series out, switch it out any way you want. You can affect the past with this idea. We'll get into that more later, not in this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the basics here. I just want to explain the mechanics of all this so you can get the basics and why focusing on what you want is just so important.
Yeah.
I hope that description helped a little bit.
It does. It does. At least to me. I mean, as I'm listening to it, and I would ask you to do this one thing for the listening audience, for the people that are watching. Meditation absolutely is going to take a little bit of work because
Yes.
of what you really, really have to do. I'm a person who is always thinking about stuff constantly. And it was the hardest thing for me to sit there for just the first 3 to 5 minutes, and because you're chanting to yourself so that you don't think. So I understood it when I was asking you all those questions, Steve. Like, what do you say? What do you do? What do you? Because I didn't get it. I mean, I was sitting there and I couldn't stop thinking, and then I started the chants. The chants take it away. People make jokes about it all the times, but the chants take it away. And then you get into, and for me, it started literally with the first few minutes where I could sit there peacefully, not thinking about anything, just being.
Mm.
But then I started to fall asleep. And it
Yep.
took more work and more work and more work and more work, a real conscious effort to be in a subconscious plane. This is the weirdest thing, you know. But now that I'm doing it, and I told you my goal is to work up to the hour. I haven't made it there yet. I'm successfully doing 30, 35 minutes right now. But this is months of me trying. I'm not going to say it's taking other people that amount of time to do it. Some people might get it a lot sooner than me, right? But that's my path. That's what it's doing for me. But other than that, or I should say in addition to that meditation, Steve, what one other thing, excuse me, what one other thing would you tell the listeners or viewers to
Hmm.
incorporate? Just one other thing, other than meditation, one other thing that they should look to incorporate into their life today to better them
The
for tomorrow and beyond.
the most effective thing that we all can do right now, whether you meditate or not, is if you're looking for something different or more, and we all are, period. We know we're just all doing that. That's the whole purpose of being here or anywhere or on planet or off planet. It doesn't matter. what you can do and what you should do if you want different and you want more, tell a different story. Tell a different story
Mm, mm.
in your mind and in your words. Because if you look carefully at what your stories are, they're probably the same stories that you had a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And this likely that the reality that's showing up in front of you is the same or similar, or you're experiencing a lot of the same events over and over again. Um, or there's some lack in there, or there's some health issues, or there's some relationship issues that are repetitive over and over and over. Well, there's only one reason,
Yeah.
and that's the story that you're telling yourself.
Wow. That's.
In End of story. Okay.
May I add one other thing that worked really well for me?
Certainly.
If you spend time in the car, more than an hour, hour and a half a day,
Mm.
turn the radio off and just learn to be with yourself. Because
I love that. I do that. I
yeah,
call that eyes open meditation.
yeah, absolutely. Because it gives you a different. Listen, when you're driving your car, your your senses are all over the place. Your peripherals are working. You're watching this car, you're watching that car, you're looking at this pedestrian, you're paying attention to that light, you're paying attention to your speed, you're paying attention to the car in front of you. You don't have to pay attention to the voices coming from the speakers that are surrounding you, or the
Right.
music that might not be the most conducive music for where you want to be, for the story you want to tell yourself. Maybe you don't listen to music, maybe you listen to talk radio, and it just takes you down the rabbit hole. Listen, those are all those things that Steve just mentioned that are external from you. Turn the radio off and be comfortable with yourself. It does help your meditation. It helps with your thought processes. Just be there with yourself, be comfortable with yourself, or get comfortable being alone, because so many people are not comfortable with that for a million reasons.
And the law of attraction, the law of frequency alignment is very precise. And whatever we focus on gets bigger. But even more important, I think, is whatever we have paid attention to, whatever we focus on, will come back to us in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So stop watching violent TV. I mean, I'd say stop watching TV totally. But, there's a couple of sci-fi things that I really like. So I can't,
There's
I,
got to be some exceptions to the rule, right?
whatever. I don't know. I would say no, but I can't preach something that I'm not doing. So,
Right, right.
you know,
I mean,
but
it is
yeah,
what it is.
yeah, it is. If you can stop watching television completely, you're just going to be better off. And then, but pay very, very close attention to what it is you're looking at and focusing on, what your environment is showing you, and then decide whether or not you like that or not. If you don't like it, stop looking at it.
Mm.
There's a lot of advertising and information coming at us right now on politics. Now, a lot of it is very negative.
Yeah.
Now, I choose not to pay any attention to that because I'm going to decide what I want for myself in that regard without any regard to what's happening out there. And I don't want to focus on any of the negative stuff because it's going to reflect back
Mm-hmm.
on me.
Mm-hmm.
This is as I mentioned in the last podcast, this is an individual experience, not a collective. And you're responsible for one thing, you,
Mm.
just
I think
you.
that's a hard thing for a lot of people to get, and I know that that has come up in not all three episodes thus far, but it is the truth, and the explanation that you gave is one that anybody who has ever been in an airplane would understand. You have to be able to take care of you before you can take care of anyone else. And as a parent, that's something that I always understood. And I meet a lot of parents that don't understand that because they're conditioned. The belief is I got to take care of them first. They come before me. Well, if you're not here,
That's
then you're
right.
leaving this up to someone else who you don't know, right? And are they going to put your children first? Absolutely not. They're going to put themselves first, and then everything and everyone else comes second. So it's not that you're putting yourself on a pedestal per se, but it is saying that, hey, none of this can become a reality. The reality that I want to manifest, if I don't feed myself first, just
Yeah.
can't happen. It simply can't happen. And I just wanted to kind of reiterate that point, Steve, because it is so important. It's a poignant point, a moment in this conversation, because so many people overlook it. They disregard it. They do not think that's the way that they should go, but it simply is. It simply is. If the world collapsed today and you had to rely on hunting and gathering, you're going to put your children in a cave somewhere so they can be safe, and you're going to go out there and you're going to hunt and you're going to gather, and you're going to consume those extra calories because you need them to fight and to be out there. Then you're going to take what's remaining back to the cave or to the hut. That's just a reality. It's just
Sounds
a
like
reality.
today's world. We're out there hunting and gathering, and the kids are at home or in school.
That's exactly right. They're in the
Yeah.
cave that society has created for them.
Yeah.
So, but Steve, today was wonderful. I loved it. I love it. The basics of frequency alignment and the difference between frequency alignment and law of attraction, as you have personally experienced it. I think that is priceless. I think that there's a lot of people here today that are going to get a lot out of that. Anybody listening, whenever they're listening, they don't have to be listening live. This could be the pre-recorded or the recorded version of it, the YouTube version of it, or a snippet thereof. This is valuable stuff, folks. And if you implement it into your life sincerely, you will feel better all the time. I promise you, I've done it in my life. I'm still doing it in my life. I want to be able to be as good as Steve as time goes on. And I practice it every day. I'm not trying to do it. I'm actually doing it. So stop
You
trying.
know, how valuable is it to be connected to infinite intelligence? There is nothing that will give you more return for your investment, time, whether you spend money on it or not, time, effort, energy, resources, than the study and the understanding of frequency alignment. You can be or do anything with this information. I can't say anything else.
And
It is what it is.
there you have it, folks, from Steve Conley himself. Again, like, share, follow. If you're listening to us on whatever platform, leave us a comment. Tell Steve what you'd like to talk about. Something that's on weighing heavily on you that Steve might be able to give you some guidance on. Engage with him. Let us know what you want to hear about. Engage with Steve at the It's About Belief YouTube channel as well. Listen to the things that are going on there and become a part of the It's About Belief Facebook family as well. I mean, the more you're around the community of people in the conversation, things will begin to change for you simply by being there. Being there in and of itself is the first step. So
The
thank you so much,
environment
Steve.
that you're in is highly uh, um, it's extremely important because it's what will affect you more than anything else. There
Yep.
you go.
Well, thank you,
I'm
Steve.
done.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you this week. I cannot wait to see or hear what we get to talk about next week.
Me neither. I'm anxious to hear that. I'm anxious to hear what I have to say.
I hang up. And in the immortal closing words of Steve Conley,
Hey, by the way, live fearlessly.
my man. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Peace.